You're 72 years old. You've been driving for 53 years without a single accident. And right now, a 24-year-old officer is standing at your window telling you to step out of the vehicle. Your hands are shaking. Not from guilt, from the arthritis medication you took this morning. And here's what most seniors don't realize. The moment you step out of that car without saying the right words first, you've just given up protections that took the Supreme Court decades to establish. Seniors over 60 are 3 times more likely to be searched after a routine traffic stop than younger drivers. 3 times! And it's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because officers are trained to interpret slow movements, confusion, and hesitation as signs of impairment. The same symptoms that describe half the medications in your medicine cabinet. If you don't know what to say before you open that door, keep watching. Because what happens in the next 90 seconds of a traffic stop can determine whether you drive home or spend the night in a holding cell. I've spent years analyzing traffic stop footage, court rulings, and police training materials. What I'm about to share isn't theory. These are the exact phrases that have protected seniors in courtrooms across America. And more importantly, phrases that prevent situations from ever reaching a courtroom in the first place. Here's exactly what's happening. Seniors are being disproportionately pulled over for what's called suspicious driving behavior. Driving slightly under the speed limit, taking a few extra seconds at a stop sign, sitting at a green light for 3 seconds too long. None of these are illegal, but they give an officer a reason to approach your vehicle. And once they're at your window, everything changes. The average traffic stop for a driver under 40 lasts about 8 minutes. For drivers over 65, that number jumps to 14 minutes, nearly double. And longer stops mean more questions. More questions mean more opportunities for something to go sideways. So let's break down exactly what to say at every stage of this interaction. The moment those lights appear in your rearview mirror, your first instinct might be to pull over immediately. Don't. Not if it means stopping somewhere unsafe or dark. You have the legal right to continue driving at a reasonable speed until you reach a well-lit public area. If an officer questions why you didn't stop immediately, you say this: "Officer, I wanted to find a safe, well-lit location for both of us." That phrase accomplishes 2 things. It shows you're cooperative, and it establishes that you're thinking clearly, not confused or impaired. Now you're stopped. The officer is walking toward your car. Before they reach your window, you need to do 3 things. Turn off your engine. Place both hands on the steering wheel where they're visible. And if it's nighttime, turn on your interior dome light. Why does this matter for seniors specifically? Because officers approach older drivers with a mental checklist. Are they confused? Are they impaired? Are they aware of their surroundings? Every action you take in these first moments either confirms or contradicts their assumptions. The officer arrives at your window. They'll likely start with something like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" This is not a friendly question. It's a legal trap. Any answer you give can be used as an admission of guilt. Here's what you say instead. "I'm not certain, officer. Could you tell me?" That response is polite. It's cooperative, and it doesn't admit to anything. You haven't said you were speeding. You haven't said you ran a sign. You've simply acknowledged you don't know why you were stopped and asked for clarification. Now comes the critical moment. The officer says those 5 words. "Step out of the vehicle, please." Under a Supreme Court ruling called Pennsylvania versus Mims, officers can legally order you out of your car during any lawful traffic stop. You do have to comply, but, and this is crucial, you don't have to comply silently. Before you open that door, you say this: "Officer, I want to cooperate fully. I need to let you know that I have a medical condition that affects my mobility. I move slowly and may need a moment to steady myself." Even if your condition is minor, this statement does something powerful. It reframes every observation the officer makes. That slight stumble getting out of the car? Not impairment, medical condition. That hesitation in your speech? Not confusion, medical condition. You've just neutralized their entire impairment checklist. And here's why this matters so much. In 2019, a 71-year-old man in New Mexico was arrested for DUI. His crime? Moving slowly during a field sobriety test. The charges were dropped when his attorney presented evidence of his hip replacement surgery. But that man still spent 18 hours in jail. He still had his car impounded. He still paid $4,000 in legal fees. The words you say before stepping out of that car can prevent all of that. Let's talk about what happens once you're standing outside your vehicle. This is where things get dangerous for seniors. The officer may ask you to perform what's called a field sobriety test. You've seen them on TV. Walk in a straight line, stand on one leg, follow a pen with your eyes. Here's what most people don't know. You have the absolute right to refuse a field sobriety test. These tests are voluntary. They're not required by law in most states, and they're specifically designed for young, healthy, sober individuals to pass. If you're over 60, you could be completely sober and still fail every single one. Bad knees fail the walk test. Cataracts fail the eye test. Hearing aids fail the instruction test. When asked to perform a field sobriety test, here's exactly what you say. Officer, I respectfully decline to take a field sobriety test. I'd like to cooperate in other ways. That last part is important. You're not refusing to cooperate. You're refusing a specific test that's designed for bodies you no longer have. There's a difference. And courts recognize that difference. Now, I need to pause here because something important happens around this point in most senior traffic stops. The officer shifts tactics. Wait, because this next part changes everything. Instead of treating the stop like a traffic violation, the officer reframes it as a welfare check. They'll say something like, "Sir, I'm just concerned about you. Are you feeling okay? Is there someone I can call?" This sounds caring. It's not. It's a legal strategy. A welfare check gives officers expanded authority to detain you, search your vehicle, and even transport you against your will if they determine you're a danger to yourself. And danger to yourself can be interpreted very broadly. When an officer asks if you're okay or expresses concern for your well-being, here's what you say. I appreciate your concern, officer. I'm fine. I don't need medical assistance, and I don't consent to any search of my person or my vehicle. You've acknowledged their concern. You've established you're mentally competent, and you've explicitly stated you don't consent to searches. That last part creates what's called a Fourth Amendment protection. If they search anyway, whatever they find becomes much harder to use against you in court. Let's talk about medication, because this is where more seniors get in trouble than almost anything else. If you have prescription medications in your car, an officer may ask about them. They might see a pill bottle on your seat. They might notice a medical bracelet. They might ask directly if you've taken any substances today. Here's what you need to understand. Admitting you've taken prescription medication before driving can be used to justify an arrest. Even if that medication is legally prescribed to you, even if you've been taking it for 20 years without incident. When asked about medication, say this. Officer, I follow all my doctor's instructions regarding my medications. I don't believe any of them affect my ability to drive safely. You haven't admitted to taking anything specific. You haven't denied taking anything either. You've simply stated that you follow medical guidance. This is a neutral statement that doesn't give them ammunition. What about if you have a medical device, a pacemaker, an insulin pump, a hearing aid? Mention it early, as soon as interaction begins. Officer, I want you to know I have a pacemaker. I mention this because I want to be fully transparent about my medical situation. Why does this matter? Because officers carry tasers, and they're trained to use them. If a situation escalates and they don't know about your pacemaker, the consequences could be fatal. By mentioning it early, calmly, and clearly, you've put that information on record. Now let's address the final scenario that catches seniors off guard. The officer asks to search your vehicle. This is almost always phrased as a casual request. Mind if I take a quick look in your car? Or, you don't have anything to hide, do you? These are psychological tactics. They're designed to make you feel like refusing is suspicious, like only guilty people say no. Here's the truth. You have an absolute constitutional right to refuse a vehicle search. Unless the officer has probable cause, a warrant, or you're under arrest, they cannot search your car without your permission. When asked, say this exact phrase: "Officer, I don't consent to any searches." Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't apologize. 7 words, that's all you need. If they search anyway, stay calm. Don't physically resist, but continue to verbally state, "I do not consent to this search." Say it clearly. Say it multiple times if necessary. This creates a record that your attorney can use later. Let me give you the 5 phrases every senior needs to memorize before their next drive. These should be written down and kept in your glove box. Phrase 1. "Officer, I wanted to find a safe, well-lit location for both of us." Phrase 2. "I'm not certain, officer. Could you tell me why I was stopped?" Phrase 3. "I have a medical condition that affects my mobility. I move slowly." Phrase 4. "I respectfully decline to take a field sobriety test." Phrase 5. "I don't consent to any searches." These 5 phrases, said calmly and respectfully, have protected thousands of seniors from wrongful arrests, illegal searches, and charges that never should have been filed. Print them out. Keep them in your car. Practice saying them until they feel natural, because when those lights flash behind you, you won't have time to think. You'll only have time to remember. Here's what this all comes down to. You have rights. Those rights don't expire at 60. They don't diminish at 70. They don't disappear at 80. The Constitution protects you the same at 75 as it did at 25. But rights only work if you assert them, politely, calmly, clearly. The next time an officer tells you to step out of your vehicle, you'll know exactly what to say. You'll know how to protect yourself without escalating the situation. And you'll know that everything you're doing is completely legal, completely respectful, and completely within your rights. If this information was useful to you, there's another video you need to watch right now. It covers what happens if you're arrested after a traffic stop, what to say at the station, what to sign, what never to sign. That video is on screen now. Watch it next.